Hey, 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 happy Tuesday, everyone. I hope everyone's having a good start to the week. And I'm doing these Facebook Live videos more because I just think it's a really interesting way to get you guys more information and yeah, just to learn more about food and nutrition and as a platform for me to share more as well. So today, and actually this whole month, we're focusing on sugar cravings, and not only just like sugar, but why we crave carbohydrates, why we overeat. And so if you actually missed it, I posted a video last week on why we all crave sugar. It's in our biology. And when we can understand why we crave foods, we can be more empowered by our choices. And so it becomes less of I shouldn't be eating XXX food because it's bad for me. I shouldn't be having the popcorn or the cookies or the chocolate because they're really unhealthy for me. But it becomes more of a conversation of, do I really want to be having those foods? But before we even can get to that point where we're asking ourselves, do we want to be having those foods? Is that going to make me feel good? We really have to back up and understand what are the lifestyle and choices that we're making that are affecting our food choices and that are almost like setting our bodies up and our metabolism up for overeating. And so that's exactly what I'm going to talk to you about today. And then I want to go over the top 5 things that I see people doing a lot that are actually triggering even more cravings for them. Okay, so my number 1 is actually doesn't have anything to do with food. And the first thing that is going to cause people to overeat is actually not getting enough sleep. And so the ideal amount that you want to sleep is between 7 and 9 hours. And the reason not getting enough sleep is affecting your hunger is because when we're sleeping, our bodies are doing a lot of work, a lot of healing, a lot of restoration and regeneration. And it actually also is balancing out our hormones as we sleep. And so leptin is a hormone that increases our body's satiety and feeling of fullness. And ghrelin is the opposite hormone to that. And that's our hunger hormone that's going to increase our body's our appetite. And so actually when we're sleeping, if we're not getting enough sleep, if you're getting 6 hours or less sleep a night, it can actually lead to overeating because it imbalances the levels of leptin and ghrelin in the body. And so really simple tool and strategy. And I think that we could all benefit from more sleep, but really scheduling it in and thinking ahead of when you have to wake up and when's a really smart time for you to go to bed is a super supportive practice. Okay, so the number 2 thing, and I see this a lot when people are dieting and they want to lose weight, they want to see results faster, and it just really works against them. And so number 2 is actually skipping meals. And so people think that they're if I'm skipping meals, I don't have to eat as many calories and it's actually going to benefit me more. But actually what this is doing is it's working against you. It's like swimming upstream because when you go more than 5 hours without eating, your body signals the release of stress hormones. And stress hormone is going to help to increase your energy levels, and it's going to mobilize sugar from its storage sites so that your muscles can still be fueled, your brain can still be fueled. But it's counterproductive if you're trying to control your appetite, be more aware of what you're eating, because cortisol actually also will inhibit fat loss. And if you're struggling with belly fat, especially on your midsection, that's usually due to higher stress. And so if you're someone who's already stressed out and you're too stressed to sit down for lunch or actually eat, or you're skipping meals because you want to, cut on calories, what this doing is actually working against fat burning. And then also it leads to overeating because you get into this place where you can't make rational choices. You can't make those rational decisions because our brain starts to panic and it's going to gravitate more towards foods that are high in fat and high in carbs because that's really what makes our brains feel really good. And so the goal actually is, instead of skipping meals, to eat more regularly. It supports weight loss, and it actually will support your body's appetite and your higher brain, your more conscious brain's ability to make smarter food decisions and food choices for yourself. So the goal is to try to eat every 3 to 4 hours, whether that's a meal or a snack. I usually try to do 3 meals and 2 snacks a day. My third one is for everyone, for all of my people. Whether you work in an office, you work at home, it's really what you're doing to set up your immediate environment for success. And the reason this makes such a big difference is because our willpower only goes so far. If you're constantly seeing a Costco-sized bag of popcorn over and over and over again, there's going to be a time when your rational brain, that conscious brain, isn't able to say no, because the reality is that we get stressed out. A lot of life happens. And when we're more distracted, it's just harder for us to make healthy choices for ourselves. And so especially if there's food available like in your office or on your desk, or you have a lot of treats at home, my suggestion for you is to actually put those away. So even if they're still there, if they're behind closed doors or walking distance away, you're a lot less likely to snack on them. And research actually supports this. So there was a study that was done for secretaries that worked in an office setting, and they researchers did a crossover. And so basically what happened was the secretaries had a bowl of candy on their desk that was in a clear jar. And then they also had the candy in a closed drawer. And then they also had it like at least 6 feet walking distance from their desk. And the candy that was like on their desk that was in a clear jar was 3 times more likely to be snacked on than the candy that was like more walking distance. And so this just shows you that the proximity that food has to us makes a difference in our snacking habits. And so it just, what putting it away does, what putting it in a closed drawer, putting it in your pantry does, is it actually helps you to create space from those foods so that you can then ask yourself, okay, do I want to be eating these foods? And if I do, enjoy it. But if I don't, maybe what's a smarter choice for me to make around it? And so just having like a physical barrier to it can be really helpful in controlling those like overeating, overmunching, grazing type of habits. So this can go for like actually having it in your physical pantry. So if you can, clear out your pantry and your home so that you can actually like create more space, but also in terms of like, if you can't do that, right? Like put it in the closed drawer if you can't clear it completely out, because you might live with roommates, you might live with your family members, et cetera, et cetera. But also, like if you do, for example, want to have some potato chips and you really want to have them, enjoy them, but instead of eating them out of the bag, put them on a plate or put them in a bowl so that you are aware of how much you're eating. I think that a lot of us, it's easy to eat what we see because we don't always have that stopping button in our minds. Certain foods, especially like potato chips and foods that are salty and sweet, don't turn off our hunger signals, which actually brings me to number 4. Because companies are really, really good at marketing, and they're really good at formulating foods so that they are addictive. And so foods that are addictive are going to be ones that are high in sugar and high in salt. And so if you're craving foods all the time and you have a lot of these foods in your diet, that's like ring, 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 red flag number 1, right? Because eating those foods will actually drive more cravings for them rather than satisfying the cravings, which we'll often think we're doing when we're going for them. And so with carbs and starches, the idea is to not exclude them forever, right? Like we need carbohydrates are fuel for our bodies, but choosing smarter choices of them, choosing more complex versions like whole grains versus chips, are going to be a better source of carbohydrates for you. And so looking at the types of carbs that are coming in their diet, and really just like the types of snacks that are coming in as well, because understanding and like being aware of those things is really the foundation for creating change. And then my number 5 suggestion for you is looking at the composition of your meals. And I think I posted about this last week, actually on Instagram, looking at what foods are actually making its way onto your food plate, and is it well balanced? Because oftentimes, if we don't have enough protein on our diet, so like having at least like a palm's worth of clean protein on your food plate, can be really helpful in terms of increasing your satiety. So if you're hungry right after a meal, if you're craving foods right after a meal, look at the amount of protein that was on your plate, and then also look at the amount of vegetables that were on your plate. And so I aim for 2 to 4 cups of vegetables with every single meal that I have for lunch and dinner, and at least aiming for at least 3 different types of vegetables with your meal, because what that does, all that fiber is really satiating, helps fill you up, and helps to drive down that appetite. And so those are the first 2 things, the vegetables and the protein, is what I look for when I am those are the first 2 things that I look for when I'm building my food plate. And then lastly, making sure that I have a nice piece of fat on there. And so that's going to be a piece of avocado. That's going to be a little bit of olive oil as a dressing. It can be some nuts. It can be some seeds. But sometimes if we just do the vegetables and just do the protein, we can still be hungry if we don't have enough fat. And so those are like my little tips and tricks and tools of what I pay attention to for my own self. And I know that when I practice all of these things, when I get enough sleep, when I eat every 3 to 4 hours, when I make sure that my pantry is stocked with foods that I want to be eating and is free from foods that I don't want to be eating, and when I'm not snacking on too many packaged foods, I know that these are the practices that set my body up for the most success. So I hope that you received some sort of actionable steps from this. If you did, I would love to hear in the comments what your plan and action step over the next week is going to be. And if you need a little bit more guidance, if you're interested and you want to take, understanding food, understanding your body, and creating a better relationship to it to the next level, I have a free 10-day mini e-course. It's just 10 days of emails, and you get 1 email a day with little tidbits and nuggets and knowledge for you from me. And so I actually dropped the link in the description of this video. So you can go there, take the free e-course. There's no strings attached. And I hope you enjoy it. And I hope that everyone has a great day. All right.